Welcome to The Witcher Path of Destiny, and this is the latest Witcher IP crowdfunding game. And to be honest, there's been a few of them of late, and maybe that's playing part of the role in some of the unflattering reviews I've been seeing on Path of Destiny. But I've also been seeing some really positive reviews. But is that just bias-driven IP love for Geralt of Rivia and Ciri and Yennefer? Well, potentially both are right. Or actually, potentially both are wrong. Anyway, let's get into my thoughts on this game and let's see how the game plays and also what are the 10 things that are keeping me up at night when I'm thinking about this latest Witcher game. In Path of Destiny, players will immerse themselves in various enthralling tales, with each tale offering unique narrative and strategic challenges. Firstly, in the base game, you'll get 3 tales that you can choose from. If you back this on crowdfunding, you'll have more options available. Next, you're going to be choosing your characters. It's all going to be all your famous characters there. You're going to have Geralt, you're going to have Ciri, you're going to have Yennefer, you're going to have Dandelion. Look, you're going to love the actual characters. But again, if you back the crowdfunding game, you're going to have a plethora more of characters to choose from. Next, you're going to start reading that tale. That tale is going to give you a story that you're going to go through. And over the course of 3 chapters, you're going to be affecting which way the tale's going. It's pretty much choose your own adventure storybook here. And how do you want the story of The Witcher to go? Well, that's going to be in your hands. The first step is to draft some cards. You're going to have various pairs of cards which you'll be drafting, bringing into your hand, which then eventually you'll be choosing 2 of those cards in your hand to play out into your tableau. When you place out those cards into your tableau, it's very important which order you place them in, because you're going to be working from left to right. You'll be playing your cards for colors, symbols, and effects. Now the symbols are going to be the primary way this game plays. Now the 4 symbols that we're playing over the course of the game are going to be fight, magic, exploration, and diplomacy. Each chapter is going to have 2 active symbols, one for the left path and one for the right path. From there, you're going to be trying to win the most of those symbols over the course of each chapter to be able to get victory points, or if not, you're going to also get some experience points. We've now played 3 turns and the first chapter is nearly complete. We have 6 cards in our tableau and it's time to count up the symbols on our cards and also on our tokens. This will then help shape which is going to be the destiny for that round. Now that we've finished this first chapter, it's time to turn over the tale cards and read the next part of the narrative. This is where we are actually changing the story, the choose your own adventure aspect of the game. So read the next part of the story and again we're driving that story to its conclusion. Let's start the second chapter. We're going to keep 1 card from that first round and that's going to be the starting card in our tableau. We'll then repeat the same 3 steps as in the first chapter. We will now end up with 7 cards. We're going to repeat everything the same as before and then we're going to start the third chapter. In the third chapter we keep 2 cards and they're going to be the start of our tableau, and by the end of the third chapter we will now have 8 cards in our tableau. And finally, over the course of the game, we've been awarded bonuses for the left and right path tokens. We've been gaining victory points and we've been gaining experience. As we gain more and more experience, more and more special abilities open up for our player boards and the game comes to its conclusion. You will read the final chapter, you'll find how the story ends, and then finally we're going to score our side quests, our experience points, and any tale specific conditions. Now, what are those 10 things that get me up at night? Well, the first one is the lack of stories. Now, if you're buying just the core retail box, well, you're going to be getting 3 stories. If you backed on crowdfunding, you're going to get some more stories. But the problem is some of those stories are just extra different ways to play the game almost, but that's fine. Look, at least you have that extra variety. But if you're buying this retail, well, these 3 stories, that's what you've got. But let's now take a step back. Are the stories really the driving factor in this game? Well, they're really not. They're almost a side part of the game. Yeah, excellent. If you're into The Witcher and you love the stories, yeah, that's going to be a nice bit of integration. Outside of that, you don't even need the stories. It's not really the driving factor. Really, the driving factor is the symbols on the cards, the tableau playing. That's the main game. The story, excellent, it's a little side part of it, but that's going to be one of the problems. You only have 3 of them to go through. Once you've gone through them multiple times, well, is there replayability really in this box? Now the 3 stories that we have are the Lesser Evil, the Edge of the World, and Striga. Striga is pretty much this book. It's kind of cool that I get to relive this book, but change the way the story goes. I kind of like that. But here's the thing, the narrative integration into this game. I mentioned just before, it's not really paramount. It's not really the driving factor in this game. But we still need it, super important. This is what you're gonna get. So we're gonna have a whole bunch of cards here. So it's not even a book, it's just a whole bunch of cards. But from there, you're gonna have your own story that you're gonna be reading. But the main thing you're trying to get to are these parts right here. And these are gonna be your active symbols for that chapter. So you're trying to change the destiny based on whatever active symbol. So are we trying to fight our way through the story? Are we trying to add magic into the story and make us go down that path? That's all we're going to do. Once we choose that, we're then going to get to turn to a different page depending on what number we are, choose your own adventure style, and then we're going to read that part of the story. We're going to go all the way to the end until we get one of these endings, and well, I won't even show you that because I don't want to spoil them. But there's obviously different endings depending on which path you went down. Cool. But how does that integration really work? Well, you're going to be reading a part before the first chapter, you could be reading a part between the chapters, and then you're going to have a final conclusion. Yeah, I think the integration works quite well. I actually don't mind the story. Is it like reading a book? Well, of course not. You're only going to have just a portion of a paragraph or two to read. But again, it's enough to immerse yourself. So narrative integration, thumbs up. Now let's move all this stuff out of the road, but this is some of the stuff that you're going to be getting when you open up one of these boxes. So we're going to have, these are some special variants, which I'm going to talk about shortly. You've got a special thing in, I think this is part of just the crowdfunding only. If you achieve certain things on the back, tick them all, you get to open it up and there's some extra gameplay chucked in there. That's going to be a nice little bonus. Yeah, we're going to have some minis again if you backed on crowdfunding, otherwise you're going to have standees, which is fine. We're going to have special solo requirements per each one of those booklets there. So that's cool. And that's pretty much it. And obviously the story itself. So that's pretty much what you're getting in each one of those boxes. But anyway, what I want to talk about is these variants. Firstly, extra effort. These are going to be working with combinations of colors. If you get that right combination, you're going to gain some experience points. That's pretty cool. Next up are going to be these cards right here. These are going to be the requirements. Now, these are secret missions. And over the course of the game, if you get the right requirement to have a sneaky peek at one of them, well, excellent. You're going to know what that secret objective, that secret mission is. And at the end of the game, if you go down that correct path, then you're going to be awarded victory points if you meet those criteria right there. And then finally, what's the last one? We've got alliance cards. Renfrey, Strigalore, anyway, basically you're going to go one down the light path, one down the dark path. You're going to collect cards over the course of the game based on where you're drafting your cards from. Then you collect those cards, and if it goes down one of those paths, you get to turn those cards over. You're going to get bonuses based on those. That's pretty much how the alliance cards works. Now, each one of these extra bonus variants is tied to one of these chapters. But I thought about it. There's nothing stopping you from incorporating all of those three variants into every single game you play. Can't think of a reason. So that's what I'm going to be doing because I want to make this game a little bit more complex. Talking about complexity, well, how complex is this game really? I'm going to say this is a light to medium weight game, and for people who have gone that all in, all these big boxes turned up on your doorstep, well, you're getting a fairly light game for all of that cardboard that you have in front of you. And is that a bad thing? Not really, as long as you know that going into it. Basically, you're trying to play symbols and you're playing colors and you're just drafting a couple cards, you're playing a couple cards. Again, the narrative, it changes and adapts over the course of the game, but really it's a pretty simple game. But there's just enough in it. Now, when you're reading the rules, while you understand this is a light game, it's not until you play the game that it feels more advanced than that. I felt like as I played it, especially at higher player counts, that strategy comes into play. And that strategy is really about that drafting. And you really need to understand how this path is going, how this destiny is going, and what symbols do you need, and what symbols do you need to take away so other players don't get it. That's where the strategy is. but it is something that you need to be aware of holistically around the table, what everyone's doing, to be able to fully maximize your chances to win. I mentioned right at the start about what's keeping me up at night. I really do think the value is keeping me up at night on this one. If you went all in on crowdfunding, you got attracted, you saw the IP, you saw a game that looks fun, and the game is fun, but you went, do you know what? Let's take everything there. Tick, give me it all, bring it into my house, and blop, just multiple different boxes in front of me. Well, I don't think the gameplay equals all that. Sure, some of those expansions help change the gameplay and add more value, but really, do you need miniatures? Standees look pretty good. The stories here, you get 3 in the base game. Kind of wish they just chucked more stories in the base game, but sure, okay, I get it. But I just don't think this game warrants such a big kitchen sink approach. I really think it's just a fun, basic game which just needs a small, basic box. Not even has to be that big. It's fun, it's good value, but it's good value, I think, if you go just retail. I really don't know if you need the all-in. So yeah, value, it's really a question mark. Well, here's some art. Let's just have a look at that. Yeah, well, hopefully you got to see it. It's a lot of watercolor with some Witcher art there, and it looks nice. It looks nice on the neoprene mat. I love it. Only problem is, this art is borrowed from the Witcher 3 video game, Wild Hunt. Pretty much spot on, just stealing that, well, not stealing, that's awful. Obviously, they got permission to use all of that artwork, but there's no new artwork. It's just all borrowed from that game and also from the Gwent card game as well. So, well, it's a card game, but it's a video game. So confusing right now. Anyway, all you need to know is the artwork has been borrowed from other video games, and that made me a little bit upset. Would have kind of liked to have seen some new art, maybe. I get it saves money, but this thing earned millions of dollars on crowdfunding, $4 million US. That's something like $8 million Australian at the moment. That's bonkers money. How about just getting a new artist and doing brand new art instead of the exact same art from the video game? God, I'm on my high horse so far. I know everything seems negative, but in fact, like I said, I like the art. It looks nice on the table. It just, I don't know. Something just doesn't sit right with me knowing that this is just borrowed from a video game. Now let's have a chat about the solo. And the solo's not the strong point of this game. The strong point of this game, 2, 3, 4 players, that's fun. Solo, definitely not as fun. There is a lot of flipping a coin to work out our destiny, and flip a coin to give the automa some tokens, and flip a coin because I don't know. I hate that as a mechanic. I cannot stand that. Luck-based games, fine. And I understand adding that extra element of luck helps what the designer was going for. Flipping a coin, no, I can't do that. And I tried the automa, I didn't like it. But I tried the automa on the legendary monsters, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. That was better. But you need that expansion to play that. Anyway, let's go into that shortly. But automa solo, not a strong point. Definitely better at higher player counts. Playboards. Yes. Asymmetric abilities. This is one of the things I really did enjoy. So over the course of the game, you're going to be earning experience, and this experience will then unlock more abilities for you. And each player is going to have very different abilities. That has really nice touch. And they're going to be one-time use only. You've got to choose when is that right time to use them. I really enjoyed that. So I hate the fact that there's more players that we could have available for us to use, more characters. And unfortunately, if you didn't crowdfund it, you won't get those characters. But yeah, great to have different abilities, and that's definitely going to add to the replayability. So that was one of the things I did like there. Now let's talk about the thing I probably enjoyed the most. playing Legendary Monsters expansion. Now, why did I enjoy that? Because that was a boss battler. And let me bring that over here. That was a boss battler, but it also changed the game to co-op. And I'm not a big co-op fan. That co-op's not the thing that's going to drive me to buy the game. But yeah, this is a good expansion. The way it changes the game to, instead of just collecting victory points, you're now basically spending those victory points to attack the monster, and the monster's going to attack you. And if you're playing co-op, if any of your characters die, then the game's over, the monster wins. If you're playing solo, it's just you against the monster. That solo was fun. That was good. Yeah, look, if you get a chance to grab the expansion, definitely recommend. There you go. Legendary Monsters. Who would have thought that monsters in The Witcher would make the gameplay better? Crazy. Well, that brings me to the end. I've talked about 9 things. Well, officially I've talked about 10, but you didn't even know I talked about the 10th one. It's really the bloat. It really is. Oh, it's just, this is something I'm struggling with. And look, well, let's not chat about the tariffs or anything like that, because that's a whole different world. But all these boxes that come in crowdfunding that you have to get suckered in because they're going to give you more and more and more and more stuff that you don't need. It's a good, solid game. It's a fun game. You don't need everything. You don't need the kitchen sink. And the bloat in just crowdfunding games in general, well, sometimes I love it. Other times I just don't think it's necessary. No, I don't think it's necessary in this game. And really, I guess that's what I'm going to end it on. I enjoyed the game. If you buy this game at retail, I think you're getting a fun game. Again, a light to medium weight game. I think it's fun. I think there's some strategic choices there, which is good. I like the stories. Again, I wish there was some more stories in there, that you could go through if you bought it in retail. But yeah, the stories that choose your adventure is nice. Replayability, well, maybe it's not there long term, but geez, I reckon you're getting good 10 plus so games out of this where you still feels fresh and you're still enjoying it. So yeah, I think you pick it up at retail. I think you're getting a fun game. Now, this is my sort of gameplay. This is Euro tableau building, drafting cards. This is fun, working colors, working all of those different things in my head to try and be as efficient as possible. I enjoy it. This is the sort of game that is for me. I just don't need everything else that comes with it. So look, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you're into painting minis and maybe it's all worthwhile just for that. And the minis are fine. They're minis. They're good. Not the best, but they're pretty good. So there you go. That's all I've got. Look, 10 things that kept me up at night talking about The Witcher Path of Destiny. If you appreciate all the effort I put into my videos, how about a cheeky thumbs up and maybe even a subscription? This is The Witcher Path of Destiny. I am Hogs. This is the Bangers Project. Laters.